when you enter into marriage without any form of contract whatsoever to determine what your or how your assets will be divided, then your marriage is automatically in community of property.
Yeah.
Marriage is a legal contract after all. And the contract itself, the antenuptial contract, ante means before. So you do it before your nuptials. Marriage is entered into between human beings, eh?
Yeah.
And abantu bayachange, people change.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining this wonderful, yet another episode of Love, Marriage and Family Podcast. It is so wonderful to have you, and thank you so much for joining us for this week's episode. And my name is Mo, and I am, of course, with Pindi.
Yes,
Hey.
thank you, Sudi.
Hey.
That's a nice introduction.
Nice introduction.
All
All those other things. Hey, fella.
the other
Yes, a bit
things.
colorful.
And listen to Zapo with the viewers because some of them are saying, "How are you pinding? I appreciate you more doing all the." I'm like, guys, I don't do my business, in front of the people. But thank you so much, my love. Thank you so much, guys, for joining us. Welcome to another dose of Love, Marriage, and Family Podcast. And we really hope you are going to enjoy this episode.
Yeah.
We decided to just twist things a little bit.
Yeah.
We're talking serious
Serious stuff,
this time around.
Yeah.
What we always do.
Yeah.
But I think it's more
more on the legal side of things.
on the legal side of things.
I'll tell you what, though, this episode came about. We've never done a legal episode. I'm not sure if is that the word, legal episode.
For now, let's use it.
An episode focused on law. We're still talking about marriage.
Yeah.
But we thought today let's focus on that this week because this episode was given rise to by an article that we came across, which really grabbed our attention.
Yeah.
That there are changes in the ANC.
Not the political party.
Sorry, in the anti-nuptial contract, that are impending or that are coming up. And as people who function in this space, we know things as black and white. It's either you're married in community of property or you're married out of community of property, whether, with accrual or without accrual. And it's as simple as that. So now they are complicating things, about anti-nuptial contract. The fact that you're married, ANC doesn't necessarily mean that what's yours is yours. That really, and a lot of people had a lot of things to say about that. And we thought, let's have a legal guru, in the studio, to come help us, and of course, ladies and gentlemen, to introduce our guru.
Yes. Go ahead.
It is none other than Miss Kwanele Ndlovu from Ndlovu & Co. They are a legal firm that focuses on a range of types of law, but including family law, which is what we'll be talking about today. And there's corporate law, there's maritime law, there's a whole lot of range. So you can please get in contact with them should you be in need of any of their services. But today we're focused on family law, as we said, around the matters that involve
legal matters.
Legal matters that involve the estates. And thank you so much, Kwanele. And she's so quiet, by the way. Usually on Facebook, the last I saw her, she was very loud.
Yeah. But we've encountered a lot of people like Kwanele.
Yeah.
But we're going to get her talking today.
Yeah, she's going to be doing a lot of talking.
Kwanele, thank you so much for joining us. It's lovely to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you, Mo. Thank you, Pindi. Yes. And thank you for inviting me. It's actually exciting when you say that I will be the first guest to actually come and give a legal education to viewers.
Yes.
And I appreciate that opportunity. I heard Mo saying that the new laws make things more complicated. And I hope that today's session will actually simplify things and show just how they improve the situation for people in marriages. Thanks.
No, man, that's so
You
awesome.
will uncomplicate things for us. But before we get into the new law, I really want us, for someone who, because I think one of the things we were talking about as we were coming here was, sometimes we take for granted that people understand what they're getting themselves into.
In terms of the marital regimes.
Yes, in terms of regimes. Maybe as a start, before we get into all the other complicated matters, what are the different types, of regimes that people get into, whether they know or they don't know of them, but what are the different types in your view?
Yeah, Pindi, actually, it's important that we start there, because what I always say is that people, before they get married, there's 4 people that they need to see. And that is spiritually, whoever their leader spiritually is, they need to see an accountant to make sure that they understand the financial implications of getting into a marriage. They also need to go and see a psychologist and prepare themselves psychologically for the institution, because it does have a bearing on your mental health as well. And then importantly, see people like myself, lawyers, because the legal implications of entering into such a contract are very big. Because a marriage in itself changes your status. So you stop being a single person and become a married person. Your status changes even in your identity document, which means in the register itself with the Home Affairs, you are now a new person who has taken up a new status. So this is something that you need to understand before even saying I do. So that before you even decide which marital regime to go with, you understand its implications. Not only because I know a lot of people confuse that the marital regimes as something that is meant to cater for divorces, but that is not the intention. It actually also looks at that other subject that you are all afraid of discussing, which is death. Because the estate is not only divided upon divorce, but also upon death, and it also affects the other implications of marriage, which is your children and your family and extended family. So in South Africa, we have 2 types of marriages. So it will be a marriage in community of property and a marriage out of community of property. So the marriage out of community of property is then it's subdivided into 2 further types. Because since 1984, we have either, you will have a choice as a married couple, whether you want to combine the assets that you've accrued in the marriage, which will be now a marriage out of community of property with accrual. Should you then decide that you do not want to combine anything at all, then you go for a marriage out of community of property with no accrual. So those are the 2 in essence it's 3 main types of marital regimes that people can enter into. So what happens is when you enter into marriage without any form of contract whatsoever to determine what how your assets will be divided, then your marriage is automatically in community of property. However, this does not apply in marriages under the civil union or marriages under the Muslim regime. So we are talking about people who marry in terms of the Marriages Act. So it becomes automatically in community of property, and that also happens when you marry in terms of customary law. So that's how it is done, unless then you as a couple decide that you want to enter into a contract that will govern how you split your assets should you divorce or should one of you die. That's when you enter into what Uputmo was calling an ANC, an anti-nuptial contract. Other people know it as a prenup.
Yeah. So that's a common one.
And maybe just for somebody who doesn't know the meaning of terms, with accrual, without accrual, what does that mean?
Okay, so out of community of property means you do not combine your property.
Yeah.
Okay.
So with accrual will mean that from the day that we are married,
Yes.
should we then in our marriage build an estate that accrues something, so it accumulates
things.
Properties.
things, assets.
Yeah.
Maybe there's now a car in the estate, there's a house,
There's a fridge.
monies, yes, there's a cat.
There's a cat. Yeah.
There's a cat, and so you then enter into a contract that assists you in determining who keeps the cat
Yes.
and who takes the car.
Yeah.
And it actually there's a set formula that we use in law, and it speaks to percentages. So you will say, I as a Mo will take 30%. And Pindi will take 70% of whatever was accumulated in the marriage. Or you say, then you go 50-50, but it's determined according to what you want, which is why it's important, again, to go and see a lawyer before you get married. Because us is actually another important thing to say is that sitting here, I'm not able to give people legal advice because people need to actually instruct an attorney in order to get a legal advice in turn. So it's important to then sit down with your attorney and you then discuss with who has what. Do you want to exclude that from the actual marriage?
What
and
you
do you
brought
want do you
from
want
outside.
to now start from what you have built in the marriage and then only divide that.
And that's such a wonderful I suppose thing, because often when people get married, well, first of all, as you were saying, you were named 4 people that you need to see. You know, the lawyer, many people still don't see the lawyer. And but it doesn't start with on the wedding day, does it? It begins really with the lobola negotiations, maybe even before lobola negotiations, doesn't it?
Yes, actually it begins before lobola negotiations.
Yeah.
Because wedding day is a bit too late to be determining.
It's very late.
It's very late.
If you haven't seen the 4 people already, a lot of people get into the marriage having seen only one of the 4 people.
The pastor.
Yes, because we do tend to overemphasize the importance of spiritual pillars, whereas they work hand in hand with the other things.
Yes,
like
they
I
don't
said,
compete.
Yes, definitely. Marriage is a legal contract after all, and the contract itself, the antenuptial contract, ante means before. So you do it before your nuptials. Nuptials is the vows.
Yes,
So the contract you enter into, your mshado. You have to do it before marriage, and you have 3 months to actually register it, because it's not only a matter of signing the contract itself. It then goes and becomes registered in the deeds office. So you are given 3 months in order to register it, and then you have to marry within that period. So it takes a lot of planning, which is why marriage isn't really a surprise. So you plan,
so
you
it
plan
can be
with
part
the
of your
person.
marriage preparation, basically.
It is definitely
supposed to
part
be.
of It is definitely a part of your marriage preparation, and it should be part of the conversation that you have with your pastor. If you take that route of speaking to a pastor first, and I think also it makes it important for also our church leaders to be well versed with such things, so that they can advise accordingly and correctly when it comes to the potential spouses asking for guidance on which choice to make.
So they need to be educated themselves. Because, I mean, let me use us as an example. We never had that conversation with our pastor. In fact, I think we got married, and then it was later, it was afterwards that we realized what kind of contract
we actually want. Then you have to go through the whole process,
and we had
high
to change
costs,
it later,
and
but
pay lots of money,
Yes.
and because for us it was more for, obviously there's Nopindi, we used to work full time, right? And then we resigned from work went into business, and then, then that contract didn't make sense for us, being in business. So we then had to change, but as I said, there's a lot of process that you go through the High Court. There's a lot of paperwork, lots of money as well.
Yeah, you could
paid.
actually save yourself
a lot of
pain.
money. Yes,
a lot of money.
And a lot of time.
A lot of time.
Yeah.
Can we take it from you Umo mentioned a bit about the lobola process. I want us to go step by step, because obviously the first thing that happens with the Black community, you get lobola at first, and then the other plans happen. But there is this confusion or miseducation rather. Oguti, masuloboliwe. What is your stand? What is your position? Can we address that? Because baningi abantu abalotsholwa umuntu wadlulela kwenye indawo walotsholwa by somebody else later on. But can we take it from the beginning? Mawulotsholwa, what does it mean?
When I try to simplify it for people who make inquiries with regards to does a lobolo then mean I'm married, and what type of marriage have I entered into, and can I then be married on the other type of marriage in a civil marriage? So what I always say is that there's different types of marriages too, like I said earlier on. There's a customary marriage, which is what, according to our custom, I'll speak to us as Black people, before you can enter into a marriage, you must go through the process of lobolo, and then you celebrate it, and then you do that. That in itself fulfills a customary marriage. A customary marriage in South Africa then has its own implications, because it permits the male spouse to take more wives, and also has patrimonial consequences that are different. In that it automatically combines your assets, so it's automatically in community of property unless you sign a contract there. So in a civil marriage or a civil union or a marriage in terms of the Marriages Act, which we typically call a white
wedding.
or a white wedding. Yes. So that in itself, for it to be concluded, you don't need ilobolo, you don't need to mix it with the other processes. So what I always say is, you as a couple, you need to decide which type of marriage you want. Is your ultimate intention to conclude a customary marriage, or do you want a white civil marriage? So if you want to enter into a customary marriage, you can go ahead with a lobola and then go and register that as a customary marriage. If you want a white wedding or a civil marriage, a marriage in terms of the Marriages Act, then you still want to appease your traditional obligations, and we say we are respecting our parents. Then that's where you need to ensure that before you even start this particular process, you go to an attorney, you consult and say, we want to get married in terms of this particular marriage. However, we want to pay ilobolo.
Okay.
There you can then enter into an antenuptial contract that specifies that your intention is to marry in terms of that
civil
marriage, and your intended way of combining your asset is either in community of property or out of community of property.
Sure.
So those are the complex decisions that you need to take beforehand.
And then what happens? What happens in the case of the customary law, right? A customary marriage is recognized by law after I have paid ilobolo.
It's not that simple, Putmo.
Yeah.
Because it's not just the payment of ilobolo. There's other requirements that the courts look at.
Okay.
And each case is looked at
Differently,
actually differently.
yeah.
Because you don't have to just pay ilobolo. There's an age factor that's taken
Yes,
into...
yes, consent.
There's a consent factor. There's an intention factor.
yeah.
There's a celebration.
Yes.
There's a custom or which tradition you...
Yes.
Because if you look at it, the Zulu people celebrate a customary marriage differently from Xhosa
Xhosa.
people.
Yeah.
So one person can argue that they had utsiki, thus they are married. So you have to take all those factors.
Yes.
That's only if your marriage wasn't registered.
Yes.
Because confusion is only because a lot of people are not registering their customary marriage.
Yes,
If you
true.
register it, then you know you're married in terms of custom.
yeah.
However, if you haven't registered it, and there's also second thing that causes this is that one party denies that they are married. You understand? Then you have to look at all those factors to go and
Yes,
prove that you
that you
are
actually
indeed
are.
married.
Yes.
However, if both of you acknowledge that
You are.
the processes that you've undertaken do culminate into a marriage, all you
Yes.
do is go to a court to declare
Yes.
that as a
happened.
We
marriage.
both are in agreement.
Yes.
My issue was also on the fact that there are a lot of couples.
Yeah.
Lots of couples who went through the process yellow bolo and fulfilled all those other points, celebration, consent, age and everything, right? And after that process yellow bolo is over, they still don't regard themselves as married,
They
right?
still want to move to the next.
They still want to go
level.
to the next wedding, the next level, which is now the white wedding. Then and only then we are married, for other.
And that takes me back to what I said earlier about intention. What are you guys intending to conclude? Were you trying to be married in terms of your customary law, or your intention is purely to be married in terms of the formalized Marriages Act and go and sign like in uguba certificate
Yes.
where you signed. So the tricky part then enters when a divorce has to be determined or there's been a death.
Yes.
Because that's where all of that now comes into place
Yes.
with people saying, but you were not married because you didn't have a marriage certificate. And then you have to use all those factors to come and prove
to
them.
actually say you were.
However, if the two of you agree that we are not married yet,
Okay.
we still want to get married, you still have a right to go and get married. In terms
Nothing
of
prevents you.
Yes, nothing prevents you from
But-
then
but-
formalizing it in terms of whatever law that you wanted.
That agreement, does it have to be in writing? Is it verbal? This is where I'm getting with this. We can agree we are not married. We've just paid the lobola, everything observed, protocol, yellow bola, and the traditions and culture and so on, right? And then 6 months down the line, we set our date, for the white wedding, right? And then 2 months, I realized I'm an andumthanda pind. I don't like pind anymore.
Wrong example.
Okay, wrong example. So 2 months down the line,
Lady A.
person A decides I don't like person B, 2 months before that white wedding, right? And then the other one is aggrieved because now the other one who says, I don't like so-and-so and therefore I can move on and marry somebody else, can the other person prevent that wedding from taking place? In other words, can I guess the point I want to get at is, at what point does customary law, because, and please educate us, does customary law, does it take into effect only when we both agree that we are actually married, under customary law, or even if we are not, we have not agreed that we are married, customary law still kicks in?
But more, that is the difficulty of marriages and law in South Africa. Because
Yes.
that's exactly what we are in courts every week
Gotcha.
fighting for.
Yeah.
And you deciding 2 months down the line that you no longer want to go and get married at church now
Yeah.
does not stop.
Person
Wanted to
B.
say, she's gonna say I'm now divorcing you. Yeah, it doesn't stop the other person,
Yes.
the other person from saying she believes all along you had been married in terms of customary law,
Yes,
because
yes.
she now has a right
Yeah.
to go and test it in court.
Exactly.
And our courts will then decide and determine whether there existed a customary marriage.
Yes.
Or not.
Yes, or not. However, and this is why we say people must go and see attorneys before they pay amalobolo.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you can't just then move on and go marry someone else
Yeah.
while another person, in terms of their custom,
We are
believes
married.
believes
Which
you are their spouse.
happens, Kwanele,
happens.
which
Oh, it happens
quite
a lot.
Yeah.
It happens
Because
quite a
for
lot.
me, I've encountered people who, without mentioning names, umuntu was lobolad some 10 years ago, but 6 years later marries a different person.
Yes.
But I think maybe the good thing is none of them regarded that as
Challenge it,
marriage.
yeah.
Yes.
But-
And therefore, they can just easily just
Then they let go.
move on to the next one.
But also another important thing to say is marriage is entered into between human beings, eh?
Yeah.
And abantu bayachange,
Abantu
people change.
bayatshintsha,
Because
yes.
those people right now can be sitting comfortable saying, "Oh no, she didn't challenge me. I was able to go and marry someone else." But bring death into the
Don't
picture.
go there now.
Bring death into the picture, then you will see the one who calls herself first wife.
Oh.
Avumbuga.
Yeah.
She will show up, and she has a right to show up and demand to bury her husband. She demands to invalidate this new marriage and marital contract that was entered into without the dissolution of the previous marriage.
Yeah.
So the reason actually we encourage people to go and get divorced in such an instance is to prevent such things, because it's one thing for a person to sit back and not challenge it, because how do you know that 9 years down the
10
line
years,
they
how
are
would
not
you
going
feel?
to and they are not going to get actual legal counsel that says no, you remain the wife of
Usman Ban.
Yes.
And you know what even becomes worse, Kwanele? I think it's when there's wealth.
yes.
Oh, when there's money.
Abanye, they take it for granted because, oh no, he was just Jay, you know,
And
Ujo
actually,
soap.
wealth, and the money and the assets and whatnot
Yeah.
is exactly what brings us to what you were saying earlier about the new bill,
Yes.
the new
Yes.
bill that
Yes.
that is going to be soon tabled in Parliament for amending the laws of divorce.
Yes.
It's called the General Amendment Bill
Okay.
for Family Matters.
Yes.
So what gave rise to it is actually a situation that was almost like that, but it was thanks to two bold women in separate cases that approached the courts up to the Constitutional Court. And eventually in October of 2023, the Constitutional Court declared a certain part of the Divorce Act as unconstitutional. It then tried to change the wording in it for one instance, and then suspended its unconstitutionality for a
Yes.
certain period of 24 months, maybe to simplify it. So the court said, yes, we see that this piece of law is unconstitutional. However, we can't just say do away with it without giving the government an opportunity to come up with a law that is now fair and just and amends this part
This
that we
one.
said doesn't fare well with the law. And what that does is where now there's issues of asset and what we were speaking on earlier about the accrual and no accrual. It changes certain things, but I will get into the details of those as we go. So it changes certain things in how those assets are now divided or not divided at the end, and it also gives new powers to judges for determination and distribution of assets, even if the parties had chosen that you keep
ANC.
yours and I
Yeah.
keep mine.
That's quite a revolution, isn't it?
Thanks to the two women.
That is quite a revolution because I mean, as we say, traditionally we know that if you have an antenuptial, you have an antenuptial. Things are clear cut. We know this is black and white. You know what I mean? And then if you are in community of property, we know what that means. But this doesn't just change everything. Doesn't this change everything?
It will.
Yeah.
It will. When the law comes into effect, it will change the face of divorce and divorce laws in South Africa quite significantly. And the reason actually earlier I highlighted that it was women that brought this, it was because at the end of the day, even the court itself mentioned that there was discrimination, and also alluded to the fact that the most affected parties are women, because traditionally, as you would understand, that marriage in South Africa is usually between a stronger man and a less financially strong woman, and that's just the setup that we are traditionally used to, and it changes a lot of things, because what the two cases brought to light, firstly, was that, maybe I should again go back to history. Historically, before 1984, people could marry in community of property or out of community of property.
Yeah.
That was it. So in 1984, the laws were changed, and there was a significant change. So just like now,
this one will be one of those.
So it's happened before. This is not the first evolution of laws, and courts have always tried to improve the laws to be more smoother and accommodate both parties, and also make sure that it protects the less financially strong parties in the marriage, and the vulnerable parties, which would be
women.
The women. So in 1984, the with accrual regime was then introduced. So after 1984, people could now marry out of community of property with accrual, which meant now you can say, yes, you came with 3 big houses, but if we are now able to buy another house in this marriage, we can then share according to whatever percentage we decide on that house.
Yeah.
So what the courts later found, and this was part of the judgment in 2023, is that this didn't cater. This did not cater fully for death or cases of death, because still people were now shut out of getting something if they had been married out of community of property with no accrual.
Without accrual.
You couldn't get anything, claim anything from the estate of your deceased spouse. So this again left the vulnerable spouses in destitute.
Yes, because you're going to lose a wealthy man because it was without accrual.
Yes,
though he's gone, but you are left with nothing.
With nothing, yes. And it's a serious thing, actually. When
and you've been raising kids.
Yes. That's another factor, actually, that the courts took into account. Because I guess if you look at it from a Christian view, that when a man looks for a wife, they're looking for a helper, right? And then women do get into that role of being the helper. However,
naturally,
for some reason, when people look at asset and how people build their wealth, they do not consider the contribution.
But this was a helper. No one to help me.
Courts must take into account the Bible. All along.
Well, courts do take. Well, it's not limited to the Bible, but fortunately for us, courts are taking that into cognizance, because now what the courts have said is that the judges must now be empowered to assess this contract. You are married out of community of property with no accrual.
Yes.
If when Sis Pindi are going to come and say, but it is unjust, especially look at maybe your business people.
Yes.
The business is in his name, you are staying at home.
Yes.
He can
Raising
build,
his brilliant
so
children.
you are the helper, and then you say it is unjust that I do not get anything, whereas I have been contributing all along. So the courts will now, if this bill passes, then becomes an act. So the courts will now be able to redistribute. Because that's what the new powers will be. It will be redistribution of the assets.
Yeah.
So they will look at this unpaid labor that you have put in
Yes.
to your marriage, the support, all
Emotional
the other
and-
non-financial contributions, including the length of the marriage. I mean, look at our mothers. They would have married our
60
fathers
years.
for about 55 years, and then upon death or upon divorce, then they are left with nothing to show. They're even kicked out of their homes because it's out of community of property with no accrual. So if this woman now approaches the court, the judge can say no, she can keep the house and she can take a percentage of what you have
Whatever.
built because as your helper, she contributed in you amassing this wealth. So it is also her wealth.
Yeah.
Yes. So
That is so powerful. Because I think we kind of undermine the non-financial contribution,
Yeah.
which is vast. Because in order for this man to win in business, he comes home every night.
He needs a solid home.
And he gets a warm,
Yes.
hot meal, sleeps in white linen, which obviously helps his thinking ability and whatnot to come up with brilliant business ideas.
You have to be a chef.
You have to be a chef, you have to be a nurse.
You iron
you
the
have to-
shirts.
You know what I mean?
You know.
And
You
then
have to be a
suddenly,
karateka in the bedroom.
Hey.
You have to be a comedian. So that his spirits
Mamela.
are always up. You have
To
to
Pindi, that comes naturally, the comedy. The comedy.
I mean, but I'm dishing it out for free. Might as well be incentivized.
But here's the-
But I like that.
Funny enough, when
Yeah.
when I was coming here, I was
Yeah.
thinking to myself, like just running through the implications of the bill. And I thought, in this era of girlfriend allowances and women that are stay-at-home moms that are given the rich wife allowances, I wonder how that would then affect the court decisions when the woman herself now approaches the court to say redistribute, because the court will have to now look at, but were you getting anything out of the marriage?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes, but also, like I said earlier on, that marriage is a legal entity that is governed a lot by the laws, and changes your status. It doesn't only do that; it also brings rise to certain obligations, because as soon as you're married, you have a duty to maintain your spouse, and she has a reciprocal duty to maintain you, and both of you have a duty to maintain your children, and so forth. So there's still other remedies within marriage where, as a woman who feels that you have not been done right when it comes to the distribution of assets, can still fall into when there's a divorce or death, like claiming for maintenance. And that has been what has been happening all along, because then when women or men who were married out of community of property with no accrual, then went for a divorce, they fell back to the remedy of claiming for interim maintenance, rehabilitative maintenance, or just lifelong maintenance. I'm sure everybody has heard of alimony.
Yes.
Yeah. So that was literally the only recourse they had. So now this new law will introduce the powers of the court instead of you relying on the monthly payments that probably end in 2 years or 5 years or depending on what the court order is, you can get a lump sum of lama million that you've helped build.
Wow.
Because that in itself empowers you to then be able to start a new life.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so, my goodness. When we came here, we're like, this episode is...
Will be short.
Yes. Will be
But I don't think that's what's going to happen.
it's got so many layers.
It
It does.
It
does. It does have it's multi-layered in the law and especially divorce. Especially divorce because I mean the law in itself, when the new aspect of it will change the face of distribution of assets for people out of community of property. And if you look at it, it's almost similar to what has been happening on the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Because when people are married in community of property, we all know that they go to court and assets are split half.
50-50, yeah.
Or there's a death, then the estate itself half goes to the surviving spouse automatically, and the other half devolves according to the law. However, there is a remedy that has always been there. And this speaks to what I was saying, that this is not necessarily the first evolution of our divorce laws or our family laws, because there is a law that caters on the other side for forfeiture of benefits when the people had entered into a marriage in terms of community of property, where now you as a spouse are able to tell the court that, this person did not contribute anything, because we do get, in the opposite of what we were talking about earlier, Sispindi, we do get people who abuse the process of saying shadil and I'm entitled to half of what you have, and then they divorce you just to get that half, whereas they were not even present, they were absent
Throughout
this
the marriage.
You worked your back off.
How do you prove that though?
Well, there's
There's
a lot
ways,
of,
I suppose.
yes, and each case is taken in its own merits as well. There's people who abandon their spouses. I'm sure we've all heard of
come
this.
across a
There's
lot
people
of
who I'm sorry to say this. I don't want to appear as if I'm attacking men, but we have grown up in a society where men do leave their homes for 29 years and then come back.
Yeah, and like, hey, I'm back.
Hello.
I'm back.
Where have you been all these years?
I'm back.
Mandlovu, you are my wife. Yes, you understand?
Futhi Mandlovu lapho isikhathi esiningi uzobuya esenomlenze oyi-1.
Yes.
And you're like, I can't use you. That is so true.
And when they come back, they find that the abandoned spouse may have now built a life for themselves, also accumulated a wealth. And upon seeing that, then this one wants a divorce, or the one, because sometimes women saying, I don't know where he went.
Yes.
So they don't even know where to start when they want a divorce. And then suddenly after 30 years, they come back home on a stretcher.
Hey,
Esenezinyo lilodwa.
Lo muntu bomfuna enabanye 32.
Yes, and his family insists ukuthi ubaba wala ekhaya.
Yes. Lapho u8 wonke is gone. And you must contend with that.
So in that instance, should you then decide that you want to file for a divorce, you then have a remedy of asking the court to have that person forfeit the benefit of getting half of your money. Well, let me not say your money, half of the money that is in the estate of Umshado.
Yes.
You understand?
Yes.
Because it would then be unfair for them to gain this benefit, having not contributed anything. And other factors actually that are taken into fact, Sispind, how do you even prove that as abuse?
Yes.
Yes, a lot of cases have been based on this person has, whether it's been financial abuse or whatnot,
Yes.
but abuse, you can also use that as a factor for saying no, do not not now come and claw into my, it's usually pension is
Pension.
right?
Yes.
Into my pension
Yes.
or whatever savings that
Sure.
that you have. There's also the issue of the length of the marriage,
Yes.
because there are people who will target you for certain benefits. Bayabona ukuthi yeah, usisi lona uyinesi, she's been a nurse for 20 years, ivuthiwe pension, you know, and then marry you, and then 9 months later they want a divorce because they know they're entitled to half of your monies. So that's where courts can step in and say no. You will forfeit this benefit.
Yeah.
So that's sort of privilege in the marriages that are in community of property is now being duplicated to apply on the
other side.
where people are married out of community of property and without accrual, where you can say, yes, we did get married very young. We then didn't have anything, and we decided out of community of property with no accrual. However, our lives have changed, and this is what we've accrued, and I've contributed so much to this accrual that I am entitled to some of it at least. Yeah.
So Linda, it's not as easy as we we
eh?
think. Because there's also this new trend. I mean, you mentioned the pension, and I read somewhere, Uguti, people's pensions, particularly men, older men, are being targeted now. Younger women will actually target a 60-year-old, 65-year-old on the basis Uguti, hello, says a pension.
Yes.
And Yamas
Wow.
Begasebenza a Transnet.
Yes, for
40 years.
For 40 years.
So
Wow.
there's no easy. I mean, for me, I need to. Now it's not just a matter of I'm married to this man. Bazo assessor even how long have you been with this man? Because konomnye umuntu ozomshadela ukuthi hayi vele lo muntu is going to kick the bucket soon.
But also, like I said earlier, that assessment in itself will only take place if one party asks the
objecting.
court. Yes, asks the court to then
intervene.
Consider the redistribution. Now that you've touched on pensions, pensions have also evolved. There was also a change in the laws that govern pension. I'm sure you may have heard in recent times where people say, for lack of a better word, a man's side chick was also entitled to a portion of the pension.
Yes.
Marriage is complex, guys.
Yes,
It's complex.
Yes, we make it complex.
Especially where there's money.
We make it complex.
So pensions, because they are also self-governing, they don't automatically divide pension yako according to what you wrote on your will or according to the distribution of assets in terms of umshado wako. So you can be married in community
So your
of property.
regime doesn't matter here?
Not that it doesn't matter. It is considered together with other factors.
Okay, I see. There's other additions.
Yeah.
So bona baba ni panel that has to investigate because with pension angithi, people go and approach your work or the pension itself and say, I was a beneficiary. So they work on the basis of who was a true beneficiary of this person, because you can be married to
woman
B,
X.
to B, and B is working and self-sufficient.
Yeah.
And then on the side, you are taking care of the other woman you love. C. And you send money to C every month, you give her 5,000, and she can prove that she relied on the money that you gave her. A
My
pension
goodness.
will
Oh,
then
my word.
investigate and give her a chunk of the money because she is a
dependent.
she has proved that she is a true dependent of your thingy. Of your true dependent, whereas maybe your wife wasn't necessarily your dependent. And there are instances where other people who are external, like not your wife, not your children, end up getting more money than those people obazalayo or that you are married to. So pensions differ in that sense. And their thing is very complex,
It
very
is,
very
yes.
complex. And I hope people listen to lawyers when they are told that
Yes.
financial planning is very important. Who you give your money to and traceable is very important. So because
And during that phase before we get married, it's it's a very romantic phase. We don't want unromantic subjects.
Money is
Talking
one of
about
those.
monies and all of those kind of things.
And then
Even
it's
estates,
Where's
even
my will?
even
We
should condemn.
Yeah.
But what I want to check though is if I have signed we're married in a particular regime, right? And then suddenly, without necessarily going to change, we on top of that regime, but without filing, we decide to write a will contrary to the regime later on in life. Which one supersedes?
The other.
okay, marriage is a contract.
Yeah.
You can't contradict marriage with a will.
Okay.
So first and foremost, the will must consider the type of marriage you
are in.
entered
Oh,
into.
okay.
So, Ubabu Mkize
Yeah.
can't marry his wife of 39 years
Yeah.
in community of property and then go and write a will to say 100% of my
Stuff is my stuff.
estate goes to Cindy because Cindy is now my new love.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah.
What will happen is because Babu Mkize has named someone else as a beneficiary,
Yeah.
that beneficiary is only entitled to half of the estate because remember the other spouse is not entitled to the entire estate
Yes.
when
In
it's
any way,
community
yes,
of
In any
property.
case.
They're entitled to half. So whatever half is left will devolve.
Le bizo yakumkhize.
Yes, it goes now in accordance to your will. Nakhona, it depends on after your spouse takes the half.
Their portion.
Ikhona yini imali esasele because there's certain monies or certain estates that don't meet the threshold where the money is so little that when you look at the law that says ukuthi the minimum because the woman has children must still go to her so that she's able to take care of the children.
Yeah.
So you
Especially when they're
you can't
minor.
just wake up and contradict your marriage through a will.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. A will is still subject to other laws as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then when it comes to a case of somebody, Umkhize is not necessarily going to give to Usindi, who is new, right? But Umkhize is still saying there's no sin, it's the two of us still, right? And we have signed a prenup with accrual, and then, however, I sign a will. Still still between the two of us, no third party involved.
But does the will contradict?
The will, somewhat contradicts, the regime.
Okay. Like I said, maybe if I can clarify. In a will, you can only give that which is yours.
Oh.
Let me put it that way.
Okay.
So
Awupanic will ngento zabantu.
Ngento zabantu.
So iwili yakho
We are
can
generous.
only give what is yours.
Yeah.
So Tina, when we do estate administration, we look at what was yours.
Yes.
So if bewushadile in community of property, half of that estate belongs to your wife. You
Yeah.
can't give the other half away, but your half,
you can.
yeah. So we work with that half. If you are married out of community of property with accrual, and only 10% is supposed to come to you, we will work with that 10%.
Yes.
Fortunately, you still have an opportunity, and this is what actually we stress when we consult with people that are opting for a out of community with or without accrual.
Yeah.
That because a lot of people feel as if it's contradictory to their religious beliefs, because marriage is about sharing.
Yes, what's mine is yours, what's yours is mine.
Fortunately,
That sounds very romantic.
Fortunately, because our laws permit for us to make will, you then have an opportunity to reallocate that back to your spouse.
Yeah. Okay.
You understand? Because now the anti-nuptial contract in itself is there to protect you guys, maybe in cases of business, in cases of going bankrupt, in cases of divorce. However, you can still say, should I die, everything in my name must go to my beloved wife.
Yeah.
Yes.
But isn't it automatic though? Especially if we don't necessarily have a prenup, but we're married in community of property. Isn't it automatic that, everything falls to my wife?
No.
If you don't indicate.
If I don't have a prenup.
It's not automatic.
Okay.
So like I said, the automatic part is that 50% goes to your wife. The other part must follow the law of estate.
Okay.
Of estate.
So wife won't get the
my
100%.
50%. Yes.
Yeah.
Unless you have stated.
Yes, on the
Somewhere.
will.
Yeah,
If not,
buya 50% wami. Na umuntu engishade naye la.
if 50% wakho angithi if uneyingane,
Yeah.
then nina manje nikhuluma as if umshado is just
It's
the two people.
Yes.
Umshado also includes beneficiaries, which are your children.
Hey, sibuye sibakhohlwe lapho.
Life is just about the two of us.
We forget about those ones.
And also, it's not always a matter of one spouse dies and then the other spouses die
Together.
ganye.
That's true.
Die ganye without children, which means it goes to your parents. If you no longer have parents, then it goes to your siblings. If your one sibling has passed away, it goes to their child. So there's an entire law again that regulates the administration of estates.
Your estates.
It doesn't just end with
I get you.
and actually now that we're speaking of that, because the new general amendment bill for family matters is designed to cater for an instance or like what happened in one of the cases that brought about the amendment itself. The woman instituted a divorce and then the man died during a divorce.
Oh, wow.
Which is why then it was identified, no man, there's something unconstitutional about our current
this.
law,
Oh, wow.
Section 7, subsection 3 of the Divorce Act, because it doesn't extend to instances where there has been a death.
Yeah.
And also people who are in the process of divorce.
Yeah.
How do you look at that?
If you die, if you die in the process of divorce.
And
because
what was the
that
other
case.
second lady's case? You said there were two ladies that actually
the
forced the entire bill to change.
The one instance, it was for the fact that it did not cater for instances of death.
Okay.
The second instance, it was because it did not cater for people who were married out of community of property without accrual after the 1st of November in 1984.
Yes.
Yeah. So it then the new law, actually they were given 24 months. That was from October 2023, and that 24 months expires in September, October 2025. So our Minister of Justice, Kubai, Ms. Kubai, has very short time to go and table this bill. So they were given that time to come with a correction, so that this law caters for those two instances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh wow.
What a valuable session we
Wow,
just had.
man. This is
Yeah.
look, I knew that obviously this session is gonna, it's gonna illuminate so many things, and especially around the fact that many of us are ignorant, insofar as these regimes, and some of us got married. I mean, we are 20 years now married, and when we got married, we never really considered,
Some of these
we're
things.
just excited
We're
to
just
get
in
married.
love, and
We're in love.
You were like, you are like, I will take anything he
baby.
brings my way.
Have me.
Until you are 10 years and 15 years, you're like,
And you're like,
no,
oh,
I won't
man.
take everything.
I won't take it.
Sam, I need the law on my side. No, but this has been awesome.
That really is that. And I'm so happy that you were also able to articulate the new amendment, that is coming up with those two ladies who sponsored this amendment. And I'm hoping that will it not need to go for public comment, or that has passed, already? That has passed.
You didn't comment?
No, we
That
didn't
has
comment.
passed,
We
actually.
didn't.
I actually remember it.
You
It just
remember?
passed,
I
yeah.
think the unfortunate part, and it's funny because when public comments were called for, I remember
we
social
don't,
media focused on women having a stem. You
Thank
remember
you.
this?
Yes.
You remember this?
Yeah, so
Yes.
that's why I remember this so well. But you know what happens, Kwanele? And this is maybe a lesson for someone who's listening at home. That's why we have other people making these comments on our behalf.
Making the laws on our behalf.
Who are supposed to be commenting in these things, we don't.
We are distracted.
No, I think we're distracted. So comment on social media in the wrong platform.
And not actually make the format.
But we did share. The link was shared around.
Yes.
But the focus was somewhere else. I remember.
Just as a by the way, I was born I'm from Gqeberha, right, in Port Elizabeth. And when it was changed to Gqeberha, there was such an uproar.
Yes.
About the change in names and so on.
As if bengazi.
I didn't care about that, But it was advertised in such a small column, and apparently about 400 people commented, and on behalf of a million people.
But also, this is why we need such structures where we remind each other of such things.
Yeah.
Because I'm part of some groups that send you emails for comment.
Yeah.
And I guess it says Ziba Tina.
No, Ziba Shem.
That is so true.
We focus on other things. And these are important things. Because, at the end of the day, can you imagine how many of us would have had the opportunity to comment?
Yes. And change.
Because our comments actually do steer the law towards the direction of catering for us as a society and what our needs at the time are.
I'm with you. Yes. And not wake up when something is law.
Yes. And when something is law, this is when you start talking.
Yes. No, this is
whatever
so
you're saying means absolutely nothing at that point.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kwanele. This has been so amazing.
Masterclass.
And I do want us to talk about, not now, later, children born out of a marriage.
Yeah.
And how they are treated when it comes to even my estates and all of those things. Because there's also a lot of talks about, hey, bazongena, bazotata, but at the end of the day, they are somebody's kids. You know what I mean? But
marriage and law, there's so
much layers.
So much we can cover because, like I said, your obligations in marriage does include custody. It includes estate planning for those children that bears a different surname. Even if you want to bring them into the family and your husband adopts them.
Officially.
And they stop being called out of
marriage.
Yeah, so there's a lot of conversation.
I think we're gonna invite you again.
Look at me! I just got another invite
to be another to be our marriage guru. Our legal guru.
Thank you so much. I think,
No, man, thank you
this
so
is the
much.
end of our conversation.
Thank you.
Our time is up. I don't know where the time went.
Yeah.
I really thought we had enough time. So we will definitely make some time. But thank you so much at home for investing your time into watching this episode. And we really hope rather that this episode was as empowering for you as it was for us. Thank you so much for your comments, for your subscriptions, for your likes, for your support in general of the platform. And we would not have this platform unless we had people that are watching. So thank you for that.
And with that, see you next week. Thank you so much.